Britain in the 1970s was a nation convinced it could build the future. Wedge-shaped dreams, bold engineering, and ambitious marketing rolled off production lines from Longbridge to Coventry, but underneath the confident brochures, something was rotting badly. Strikes crippled factories, rust ate through steel before the paint had settled, and quality control became an afterthought. Some of these cars looked genuinely brilliant on paper. Owners queued up, excited, hopeful. What they got instead became years of heartbreak, breakdowns, and regret. 10 cars, 10 warnings, and one, right at the very end, that ruined absolutely everyone who trusted it. Let's start with number 10. Number 10, Hillman Avenger. Launched in 1970 by the Roots Group, soon absorbed into Chrysler UK, the Avenger was meant to be a clean, modern rival to the Ford Cortina. Buyers wanted something reliable, affordable, and easy to live with, and early reviews genuinely praised its handling and tidy styling. For a while, it seemed Chrysler had got something right. But underneath that promising shell sat a body prone to serious corrosion, especially around the sills and wheel arches, areas that rotted quietly until MOT testers started refusing to pass them. Owners who had trusted the badge found themselves staring at rust holes barely 3 or 4 years after driving away in a showroom-fresh car. Would you honestly have noticed those warning signs in time? As Chrysler's British operations grew increasingly troubled, parts support and dealer confidence slipped alongside the metal. It sold steadily, but its reputation quietly soured. And the car at number 9 took that same problem and made it catastrophically worse. Number 9, Austin Allegro. British Leyland unveiled the Allegro in 1973 as the natural successor to the beloved 1100-1300 range, one of Britain's best-selling cars ever. Expectations were enormous. What buyers got instead was a car nicknamed, almost instantly, the poached egg for its awkward, bulbous styling. That alone might have been forgivable. What wasn't forgivable was the infamous square quartic steering wheel, marketed as a safety innovation but mocked mercilessly by press and public alike. It was quietly dropped within a year, but styling wasn't even the biggest curse. Jack the Allegro up in the wrong spot, and the rear windscreen could reportedly pop clean out of its frame. Build quality across the range was inconsistent at best, with panel gaps and trim faults becoming running jokes among owners. Despite this, it sold reasonably well simply because Britain still needed family cars. Could you have driven one without wincing at the stairs? The next entry didn't just damage a reputation. It nearly damaged an entire company. Number 8, Morris Marina. Rushed to market in 1971 to plug a gap against the Cortina and Escort, the Marina was assembled using suspension and steering components borrowed from the aging Morris Minor. It was, in the truest sense, already outdated before its launch day. Buyers were promised a fresh, competitive family saloon. What they received instead handled so poorly that contemporary road testers openly questioned whether the steering geometry had been calculated correctly at all. Understeer was severe, sometimes alarmingly so on wet roundabouts. Rust arrived early and aggressively around the sills, and reports later suggested some early cars even left the factory with mismatched suspension parts fitted to the wrong engine variants. Despite all this, sheer marketing muscle and fleet sales kept it moving off forecourts in huge numbers. Would you have trusted the badge on the bonnet alone? Sales figures told one story. Owner experience told a very different one entirely. And the car that follows turned styling ambition into an outright engineering gamble. Number 7, Triumph TR7. Unveiled in 1975, the wedge-shaped TR7 was marketed with the confident slogan "the shape of things to come." Its bold, angular design broke completely from Triumph's traditional sports car look, and early interest, especially in America, was genuinely strong. But the TR7 was built at BL's Speak plant in Liverpool, a factory notorious for industrial unrest. Strikes were frequent, workmanship suffered, and panel gaps became a running theme. Owners reported doors that wouldn't close properly, persistent water leaks, and the electrical gremlins British Leyland had become infamous for. What should have been a triumphant sports car instead earned a reputation as one of the most maligned classics of its era. But here's the twist nobody expected. Beneath the shoddy assembly sat a genuinely capable chassis, one that later, better-built examples proved was never really the problem. Would that change how you judge it today? Sadly, first impressions had already done the damage. And the next car carried a name that once meant something entirely different. Number 6. Rover SD1. Launched in June 1976 to rapturous reviews, the SD1 looked like nothing else on British roads, a sleek, Ferrari-inspired hatchback fastback that went on to win European Car of the Year. Rover had, it seemed, delivered a genuine world-beater. Waiting lists stretched for months. Then reality intervened. Solihull's brand-new paint shop, which had cost over £15 million, proved so unreliable that at one stage it could only manage flat colours, with no metallic finish possible at all. Panels arrived poorly fitted, door seals leaked, and an unexplained vibration crept in at speed. Industrial disputes disrupted production repeatedly, and dealers grew used to fielding complaints about a car that should have been a triumph. Could a design this admired really be let down so badly by its own factory? Rover's reputation never fully recovered, even as the SD1 became a cult classic decades later. And the next car wasn't undone by strikes. It was undone by its own single wheel. Number 5. Reliant Robin. Introduced in 1973, the three-wheeled Robin promised cheap motoring with car-like comfort, a fiberglass body keeping weight and cost impressively low, alongside genuinely reasonable fuel economy during an era of soaring petrol prices. For thousands of budget-conscious drivers, that pitch was exactly what they needed. But that single rear wheel created handling characteristics unlike anything else on British roads, a high center of gravity and narrow track that demanded real respect, especially cornering at speed or on cambered surfaces. Its infamous tipping reputation was later exaggerated for television comedy, but the genuine handling quirks were rooted in real physics, not myth. Insurance classifications and driving license rules made it attractive, yet that appeal came with a driving experience many found unnerving. Could you have adjusted to cornering so differently from every other car you'd owned? It became a beloved British icon nonetheless, oddly cherished despite its eccentricities. But the next car offered no such charm to soften its failures. Number 4. Vauxhall Viva HC. Vauxhall's Viva HC, launched in 1970, was Britain's best-selling car in certain years of the decade, a simple, affordable family saloon built in enormous numbers at Ellesmere Port and Luton. Its popularity should have been unquestionable proof of quality. Yet beneath those sales figures lurked a serious structural weakness. The Viva HC became notorious for aggressive rust, particularly around the front subframe mounting points, corrosion so severe it could compromise the car's structural integrity entirely within just a handful of British winters. Thousands of otherwise mechanically sound examples were scrapped early, not from mechanical failure, but from bodywork that had quietly rotted away beneath them. Owners who'd bought sensibly, expecting dependable family transport, found themselves facing MOT failures for reasons they hadn't even known to check. What does it say when the nation's favorite car couldn't survive its own climate? Sales success masked a slow-motion structural crisis underneath. And the next entry combined ambition, prestige, and disaster into one unforgettable package. Number 3. Austin Princess. Launched in March 1975 to genuine press acclaim, the wedge-shaped 18-22 series turned heads with styling praised as dramatically modern, a proper flagship for British Leyland's ambitions. 3-month waiting lists formed within weeks of launch. It should have marked a turning point. Instead, the very year of its debut coincided with the government nationalising British Leyland entirely, and quality troubles followed almost immediately. Owners reported collapsing suspension components and driveshaft failures, faults so public they became national news rather than private inconvenience. Strikes disrupted production repeatedly, and BL was widely seen as painfully slow to fix problems it already knew about. Renamed Princess within 6 months, the car struggled to shake off its reputation despite genuinely impressive ride comfort. Could you have kept faith through headline after headline of failures? Sales never matched British Leyland's own optimistic forecasts. And now, the car that didn't just disappoint. It bankrupted the company built to build it. Number 2. Triumph Stag. Launched in 1970, the Stag was Triumph's answer to the Mercedes SL, a stylish 4-seat convertible Grand Tourer with genuine prestige ambitions. Its bespoke 3.0-liter V8, essentially two 4-cylinder engines joined together, promised smooth, powerful performance worthy of its elegant Michelotti styling. For a moment, Britain had a proper rival to European glamour. Then the engine began to reveal its secret. Cooling passages were narrow and prone to blockage, water pumps failed, and cylinder heads warped from persistent overheating, sometimes within the first year of ownership. Timing chains stretched, and if neglected, the whole engine could seize entirely without warning. Dealers, unfamiliar with the complex V8, often made repairs worse rather than better. Could a car this beautiful really have been this fragile underneath its bonnet? Word spread quickly among enthusiasts, and resale values collapsed as reputation soured badly. It remains one of Britain's most heartbreaking mitre-bins. And the final entry didn't just disappoint drivers, it ruined them. Number 1. Jensen Interceptor. By the early 1970s, the Jensen Interceptor represented genuine British glamour, hand-built grand touring elegance wrapped around a thunderous Chrysler V8, admired by wealthy buyers who wanted something rarer and more dramatic than a Jaguar or Aston Martin. Owning one felt like joining an exclusive club. Then the 1973 oil crisis struck, and that thirsty V8 became a financial liability almost overnight, as fuel costs soared and running expenses spiraled beyond what many owners had budgeted for. Worse still, Jensen's West Bromwich factory struggled desperately with cash flow, part supply, and industrial disputes, leaving owners stranded without support for a car that demanded specialist care. Jensen collapsed into receivership in 1975, taking its dealer network and warranty promises down with it. Owners who'd spent fortunes on genuine luxury found themselves holding an orphaned, unsupportable machine almost overnight. Would you have kept faith in a car with nowhere left to turn for help? Beauty, ambition, and timing had collided catastrophically. This was the car that ruined everyone who trusted it. 10 cars. 10 different curses, rust, mismanagement, industrial strife, rushed engineering, and simple bad luck colliding with a brutal economic decade. Together, they tell the real story of 1970s Britain, a country capable of genuine brilliance, repeatedly undone by the systems surrounding it. These weren't failures of imagination. They were failures of execution, and British motoring history is richer and more honest for remembering them properly. Which one surprised you most? Perhaps one you'd always defended, or one you never expected to see here at all. Let us know below. Because sometimes, the most fascinating history isn't the cars that succeeded. It's the ones that didn't.